As you and I know, we humans have had to go through many civilizations and many periods of development to get to where we are today. There are civilizations that we are lucky to find, and there are also civilizations that are still hidden somewhere under the dust of time. However, the imprints of ancient civilizations, especially the imprints of science and technology, are always boldly present in each newly announced discovery. Perhaps you can hardly imagine the image of people being confused by the pyramid-building techniques of the Egyptians, amazed by the incredibly accurate astronomical calendar of the Mayans, or even skeptical of history when taught to listen about Atlantis. However, that is only a small part of the mysterious world of ancient times. In addition to what we just mentioned, there are countless advanced scientific and technological achievements that have been unfortunately lost in the past. Not only that, many discoveries even lead us to crazy truths, completely reversing our understanding of world history up to now. What are those lost technologies? Are ancient civilizations as backward as we think? Is it true that humans only know a very, very small part of the brilliant world that existed long ago on Earth? To make you wait any longer, all those questions will be answered in the next 30 minutes of the video, Mysterious Lost Technology of the Ancient World. Surely you have heard the name of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, one of China's 4 great classics, written by author La Guanzong. The work shows a chaotic situation when the fate of the Han Dynasty was over, and the 3 forces of Wei, Shu, and Wu rose up, each side claiming hegemony. Among countless battles, large and small, one of the most epic battles. Given the scale, perhaps the Battle of Xichbich must be mentioned. The great tycoon Cao Cao, with an overwhelming force of up to 830,000 troops, attacked directly and wiped out the Shu-Wu alliance, which at that time was still weak. However, Zhuge Liang, the strategist of the Shu Han dynasty, and Chu Du, the military advisor of the Eastern No dynasty, used fire to destroy the Cao army, leaving no armor left, causing heavy losses to the Wei dynasty. Known as a once-in-a-lifetime talent, later generations praised Zhuge Liang as a man above astronomy, below geography, skilled in the art of warfare, and full of strategy. Some people even say that he can call rain and wind at will, turning the universe around. Yet, in the final confrontation with Sima Yi in Thuongfuang Valley, Zhuge Liang and the Shu army were unable to achieve a final victory due to a heavy rain that completely bankrupted their plan to use fire. Although the work, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, indeed has many fictional parts compared to real history, the last 2 cases still clearly show us that using fire in war can be effective if the weather is favorable. However, it will definitely fail if it encounters its natural enemy, water. But is that true? The real answer is no. If you possess a type of fire that is not afraid of water, on the contrary, it flares up even more strongly when exposed to water, then the statement above is completely incorrect. The fire I'm talking about is Greek fire, the secret weapon of the Byzantine Empire, a powerful empire in Europe during the Middle Ages. If you find it somewhat familiar, then yes, Greek fire is the prototype for the terrible Black Fire Bay fire in Game of Thrones. So what is the origin of Greek fire, and what is the reason why it possesses such terrible power? Speaking of Greek fire, perhaps we need to mention the history of the Byzantine Empire, or the former Eastern Roman Empire, located on the Black Sea coast in Southeast Europe and at the crossroads of the continent. This is the empire with the oldest monarchy in Europe. In 313 AD, the founding emperor Constantine the Great issued an amnesty to Milan, thereby ending the 300-year repression. For the Christians of the Roman Empire, this also made Christianity a central feature of the Byzantine Empire. After the rise of the Arab Muslim Empire in the 7th century in the Middle East, this empire was always the vanguard for European Christian countries against invasion from Muslim countries. But then, one day, faced with the overwhelming military power of the invaders, Byzantium was truly in danger. The Eastern Roman Empire was under attack by Muhammad's Muslim forces, and parts of Syria were captured. Constantinople was also threatened by fears that the Muslim army would continue to advance. Kinnock, a Jewish architect who fled from Syria to Constantinople, experimented with many different materials until he discovered a magical liquid mixture. This type of liquid creates extremely terrible flames. That fire can burn in all adverse conditions, even on water. Not only that, it also sticks to every surface, turning everything it touches into ash in an instant. Without a minute's delay, Kinnock immediately sent the mixture formula to the Eastern Roman Emperor. A few days later, after besieging the city, the Arab fleet began to launch a general attack on Constantinople. Initially, the Byzantine navy only sent a few small boats out to challenge to make the Arab army subjective. But when the small boats approached, the soldiers on the boats suddenly shot out streams of strange liquid, which clung to the large Arab boat and then flared up violently after a fire. That fire was both incredibly hot and unquenchable. The fire burned stronger and stronger, swallowing the entire fleet in an instant. The Arabs had never seen such fire. They had no way to resist that divine power. The Arab fleet hastily ordered a retreat, but it was too late. During the chaotic escape, the remaining troops were attacked and pursued by the Byzantine navy and were almost completely destroyed. The Arab army suffered its most catastrophic defeat since the beginning of the Holy War and was forced to sign a 30-year peace treaty with the Byzantines. The terrified Arab army called this demon's weapon Greek fire, because at that time the Byzantines spoke Greek. Until now, no one knows exactly what ingredients make up Greek fire. Its recipe was a state secret, passed down from generation to generation only within the family of Callinicus and the Byzantine emperors. However, one thing is certain: its structure is extremely complex. Even those who faced it directly could not recreate anything like it. Some scholars have suggested that petroleum, quicklime, sulfur, nitrates, and gunpowder may have been among the ingredients in Greek fire. But up to now, no regeneration has achieved real effectiveness. The Byzantines continued to use Greek fire for many centuries, and its use was not limited to naval battles. On land, Greek fire also played an extremely important role. A handheld version of the Greek fire was invented, called a cherosophon, similar to a modern-day flamethrower. Cherosophon first appeared during the reign of Emperor Leo III and was used for self-defense as well as for burning enemy siege towers made of wood. In addition, the Byzantines also filled clay jars with Greek fire to hit enemies, like gasoline bombs. Steel wires covered with spiked metal, striped on the ground to hinder chariots, were also soaked in Greek fire liquid by the Byzantine army to increase their damage when attacked. 39 years later, the Arabs, who bore the scars, forgot their pain and returned once again. This time, they dispatched 2,560 ships in the sea fleet to surround the citadel, but the result was the same, even more disastrous than the previous time. More than 2,500 warships, enough to build an entire kingdom at sea, more than the cow army at Sheech Bitch in the past, were burned down, leaving only 5 ships. During the next 700 years, Greek fire performed many feats, making great contributions to the ancient Byzantine kingdom. Inherited for thousands of years in an era of endless war and social chaos in Western European countries, Byzantium was the only bright spot in dull medieval Europe, especially Constantinople, which was always in the middle of the world. Christianity is the only city that inherits ancient Roman civilization and culture. There are countless precious works of art and ancient books from the Byzantine Empire. Scrolls and rare treasures, gold and silver brocades, are being stored all over the world. Unfortunately, no matter how long a kingdom lives, it cannot escape the cycle of prosperity and decline. In May 1453, another country from the Muslim world, which had fought and lost, came to challenge the Byzantines. This time, the Turks brought to Constantinople cannons with a range of up to nearly 2 kilometers. Under continuous shelling, the Greek fire gradually lost its strength. On May 29th, Constantinople was captured. The last emperor, Constantine XI, died in battle. The Byzantine Empire was destroyed, and the Greek fire formula also died the night the citadel fell. The nobles and scholars of Constantinople fled and went into exile in various countries. They brought with them precious ancient documents as a premise for the reconstruction of the lost ancient civilization in Ta, during the time of Plato, Ariston, Alexander, and X. It is said that these documents were the Bay, nurturing the roots of Europe's Renaissance art and culture. The seemingly lost civilization once again shines brightly. But do you really understand what Renaissance is? Western European culture from the 5th to the 10th centuries was based on a self-sufficient economy with very limited exchange. Culture therefore develops insignificantly. By the 14th century, the economic development of industry and trade in cities and capitalist production relations gradually formed and grew stronger. The ideologues of the bourgeoisie did not accept outdated feudal teachings. They campaigned to restore the splendor of ancient Western European culture. They found in ancient culture elements that suited them and gave them advantages to fight against the constraints of medieval culture. The Renaissance cultural movement is a new cultural movement of the Western European bourgeoisie in the Middle Ages, based on restoring the values and achievements of ancient Greek and Roman civilization. The Renaissance cultural movement first appeared in Italy because, in the 14th century, free cities appeared like small countries. Capitalist relations of production have taken a dominant position in cultural life. Italy is the center of the ancient Roman Empire, so many Greek and Roman cultural heritages are still retained here. From Italy, the movement spread to England, France, Spain, Germany, and finally all of Europe. The art and culture of the Renaissance must have been very famous, and that popularity came in no small part thanks to the contribution of unique and outstanding paintings. However, in these paintings there is one thing in common that very few people realize, which is that they have almost no blue color. For example, in Raphael's painting, the Madonna, although the Madonna's cloak is blue, the sky behind is cleverly covered with white clouds and golden light. For Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam, the sky is again shown in white. Why is that? Did Renaissance artists not want to depict the sky in its actual color? Isn't blue what should be here? The actual answer may surprise you. The reason why the paintings use so little blue is because creating blue at that time was extremely difficult. People must use the precious lapis lazuli stone to extract this color. And perhaps you don't know, lapis lazuli will be mined from faraway Afghanistan, then processed through many complicated steps before achieving the final result, the powder we are seeing on the screen. Therefore, in Europe at that time, blue was more expensive than gold, so it was often only used for extremely important objects, such as the robe of the Virgin Mary or the angel's clothing. However, look at these works. They are all painted by Spanish artist Francisco de Zurbarán. In the famous artist's paintings, blue seems to cover every detail, not only the Virgin Mary's robe like other colleagues, but even the sky and background are represented by blue. An incredibly vivid blue with incredibly high value. Could it be that Francisco de Zurbarán was so rich that he could freely use a rare color like blue in his works? In fact, the blue he used is completely different from the blue used by other artists. This comes from where he lives. Francisco de Zurbarán lives in Mexico, a former Spanish colony. Therefore, his blue is a color that comes from the native Maya, not from the precious lapis stone. Later, people called this Maya blue. Maya blue is the color closest to the sky among many blue pigments, and it is so perfect in a work of art that the Mayans greatly admired and loved it. This blue color was used to smear sacrificial offerings to the gods and was used extensively in ancient fresco paintings. Blue frescoes discovered by archaeologists at Mayan ruins date back to 300 AD. Some have been exposed to wind and rain, and other colors have faded. Only the beautiful Mayan blue remains clearly distinguishable. Maya blue is not only more brilliant and vivid than the blue used by European painters, but can also last for a long time, even hundreds of years. Unfortunately, a few centuries ago, with the collapse of the Mayan civilization, the 1,000-year-old Maya blue and its formula mysteriously disappeared. Greek blue or Mayan blue are just two of many examples of lost technologies from ancient times that truly amaze us. Many people still believe that some ancient civilizations had scientific and technological levels beyond our current understanding. Ancient technology is always a fascinating topic, and the discovery of this Antikythera machine is like a key that opens a treasure trove of knowledge about ancient technology. Its existence has upset our understanding of past civilizations. This device is not only a complex machine, but also an ancient computer that can predict astronomical positions, track solar and lunar eclipses, and even record time cycles so perfectly that there is almost no deviation. It's time for people to realize that the development of human science and technology does not always move forward. Instead, it can fluctuate over time. This means that the technology we lose may be more powerful than the technology we have. Modern technology has become so advanced that modern people mistakenly believe that we are much more advanced than the ancients. We often think that ancient people lived backward lives, but with the continuous development of archaeology, we gradually realize that this view does not completely correspond to reality.